Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners. And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We are your Morning Throners with Tyrion VII on deck. Gentlemen, how are you doing? Hopefully better than a baby in 1846.
Jeff and I just went off on a long tangent. We got into an argument before we even started recording. We don't have to even come really up, but it involved babies. Argument. It involved babies in the past. Getting into this chapter.
So yeah, this was
surprise. I'm gonna give a hot take for Nelson. This was a chapter.
That's what I was gonna say. This was an obvious filler chapter.
Not your favorite chapter?
Not favorite chapter. Bottom of the barrel chapter.
Obvious filler.
Is it even a good chapter?
No, it's a bottom 50. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's definitely not a 5. So it's 1 to 4, somewhere in there.
Could the book have been fine without it?
That might be a question for spoiler section more.
I would agree with that.
I just don't want to free thought right now and have something slip, but probably.
Well, I mean, you saying it's a bad chapter gives probably enough away.
It doesn't. I mean, I thought it was a bad chapter.
Yeah, I mean, it's short. Nothing really happens.
Nothing fucking happened. Let's be real. Nothing happened.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on how good it was. Kyle, give us the quick summary.
I mean, we could legitimately end this pretty quickly, right? So like, Tyrion's like, man, Sansa doesn't even cry in front of me. That's how it starts, right? Like he's like, she's not even showing any emotion around me. She still hasn't cracked. Then he goes to see Shay. He chases her around for a while in the dark.
And then realizes he can't be with her anymore.
Yeah, and then he like has kind of a weird epiphany, right? Where he's like, I can't be with her. But I don't know. That seems so out of place for him to me. I mean, this is probably the longest spot we could talk here, I think, on this chapter. I mean, do you want to go through it in more depth? We're not going to have content.
I mean, we can still go through it. There's still some shit. And
okay, but then I shouldn't do this version.
Yeah. Let's leave the listeners with something for the end.
That's a good synopsis.
Okay.
But, like, honestly, those three things could have been summarized into, like, 3 paragraphs. Like, oh, he woke up, Sansa still doesn't like him. Oh, but I saw Shay last night, we banged it out, but I don't think I could be with her anymore. Lead into chapter with more substance than, like, where his apartment is and shit. But I digress.
So there's some stuff in here that I think maybe is more surprising for Kyle than us. Like, one of the things I totally forgot until, like, the very end, like, when I was finishing notes. I'm like, oh shit, I guess like this is the first chapter we realize Shay is one of Sansa's new maids.
Yeah. That is new info though, right? Like,
yeah, because last we knew she was with Lollies, right?
Exactly. And it's one of the things that I think in the show she never is a maid for Lollies. Like she immediately gets brought in as for Sansa. So like she's in the show she's a maid for Sansa for like a decent time. So like in my mind I was like, when I read like the beginning of the chapter when I'm reading like she was like a maid or whatever, I'm like, oh, of course. And then I'm like, oh wait, Kyle probably doesn't know that.
I think it was two or three Tyrion chapters ago. She was bitching about like not having her good silks and she wanted her good stuff, but she didn't have it.
And she was with Lollies, right?
Yeah, whenever I think it was either 2 or 3 ago.
For sure, but I didn't foresee this happening. I don't know. It didn't seem smart, right? Like it definitely still doesn't seem smart. And he even acknowledges that in here.
Yeah, that's kind of what he's saying.
Yeah, but like I didn't think it was happening, but I also didn't I didn't think it would sway him that much, right? Like so he seems so driven by her that for him to act like this is strange to me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean I wasn't trying to dig too much on the point of it. I was just saying like this chapter, again, it seems like a nothing chapter. That's one of the new things, at least for a first-time reader, right? Is now this new dynamic of the 3 of them.
Yeah. All right, let's jump in. So Tyrion is in bed with Sansa watching her dream.
Yep. So, and I'll bring up here where the last Tyrion end? Like, what was the last Tyrion chapter we had?
News of the Red Wedding.
Exactly. Sansa had gone off to pray. He had gone to this meeting.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And Tywin's like, get her pregnant. And he's like, I'm going to have to break this horrible news to her. So this is another thing about this chapter.
It's not the aphrodisiac we were thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's the first time we see Tyrion and Sansa interact. And they don't even interact, but we get like Tyrion's thoughts about like, it was awkward, pretty much, right? We don't get the reveal of that, but we get like him thinking about it in hindsight. And it was like, yeah, that was weird.
Well, yeah, I mean, it had one way to go, right? And he even says it again here, like she's not going to, if she's going to listen to or talk to anybody, it's not going to be a Lannister, right? Like she doesn't want me wishing her well right now.
Yep. But she, like, when he told him, so again, like when he did tell her about it, she was just like stone faced, no reaction. It wasn't until later with a door between that they were crying. So that's kind of what you guys were saying, like she won't even cry in front of me type thing. So yeah, she's obviously clearly not comfortable with him still. He, again, I think we heard some of this before. They threw cats, like, again, more like description of that they got from what actually happened at the massacre.
Yeah, but I would say this was kind of confirmation too, right? So we got this from, was this Stannis?
Yeah. I'm not sure where he was getting his news. I think it was from Salador saying, getting it from just like here saying King's Landing or whatever, and then giving that to Stannis. So yeah.
Yeah, so it didn't seem legit, but now it definitely legitimizes the wolf head thing and the cat being thrown in the river. And then, like you said, it was a mockery of the River Run's funeral rites.
Yeah, it might have been a little spoiler by me last time.
Yeah, whatever.
Wow, imagine that, Nelson giving another spoiler away.
It's not a big one. Yeah, and Tyrion's basically like, our marriage is as cruel of a joke as all that stuff that they did to the bodies after the fact. Like, and Sansa knows it. She knows that this is like pretty much like a fake marriage.
Oh, for sure.
And he wonders, he doesn't straight up say it, but he's like, she still goes to the godswood to pray, but all her family's dead. He's like, I wonder if she prays for me. To me, I'm kind of, he doesn't actually ever say this or think it, but to me, it's like, what else does she have to pray for at this point? Like, she doesn't have, like, there's no, I hope Rob wins. You know what I mean? Like, they're all gone.
Yeah.
We know they're not all gone.
Like, we know, like, she could maybe think that Arya is just because no body, no word.
Exactly. That's Sansa's only hope, to not be the last Stark.
And she doesn't really even like her.
Because she thinks Bran and Rick on her for sure. And then if she's like a connection, if she feels Jon.
Yeah, she doesn't like, she never really fucked with Jon, though.
And he's kind of like locked away. He has rules now, so.
Yeah, he's not coming to help.
Yep.
He can't.
So he ends kind of like the Sansa thoughts with, their words, our winter is coming, and it definitely did for them. He's like, but it's high summer for Lannister, so why do I feel so cold? So, like, he should be happy, but he's not. He's kind of sharing Sansa's misery.
He's also...
Then he starts talking about the one good thing that did come of the marriage. Sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I don't know if it's now, but, like, he also kind of feels like ashamed that he can't console or protect her through all this shit, too.
Yeah, I think he wants to, but she is just putting that wall up, being like, you're the enemy, kind of.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's not his fault necessarily, but he definitely can't be the one, right? Like, he's definitely associated with it.
Yep. So yeah, he does say there's one good thing about the marriage, though. He got a change of living arrangements.
Oh yeah, you got a new house essentially. Well, he's out of Cersei's place, right? He was stuck near her.
Yeah, so he was in Maegor's Holdfast, and he was in a good spot in the Tower of the Hand. Then he got moved to a shitty spot in Maegor's Holdfast. Maegor's Holdfast they call the castle within the castle. It's like the super defended. They have like a moat around, I think, the Red Keep, and then they have another moat around Maegor's Holdfast. So it's kind of like the super inside fortress.
Double walled, yeah.
And he's like, I'm just glad to be out of there.
And with Cersei. That's the biggest deal.
Yeah, we're not sure if it was Cersei. Tyrion always suspected it was Cersei, but basically when he woke up from the Blackwater battle, because Tywin had showed up, he's no longer in the hands, and he's like right above Cersei, or like right next door. Like she had him moved really close by and put in like a shitty spot. So upgrade. And where's he living now?
He stole somebody else's house, which I thought was kind of
funny. Yeah, he took Lord Giles Rosby house, old apartments.
I forget where it is.
Above the kitchens. Kitchen Keep. I feel like this is a dope spot. It's kind of probably where all like the cooks and stuff work or sleep. So he's got like the penthouse suite in like the cook's chamber. So he says he wakes up to like the smell of bread in the morning.
You think the cooks are living there? I mean, I guess they work there a lot, but
it's called the Kitchen Keep.
That feels like pretty high living for the cooks. No?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think he has the penthouse.
I mean, there are the king's cooks though, right? Like the king's direct people should be treated pretty well.
At least the head chef.
I can't agree nor disagree.
You think they're commuting from Flea Bottom?
I feel like Tyrion living above the head chef is. I mean, I guess like this was Lord Giles. Who the hell
Tyrion's
was Lord
Master
Giles?
of Coin now.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, who was Lord Giles?
He was master of something.
He was a master of something?
Actually, he wasn't. He was just like one of the people that was always at court.
He's a lord.
Yeah, he's a lord. He's one of the lords of the Crownland, so his house is nearby.
I don't think Tyrion minds being here. Like we've already mentioned, he's away from Cersei and he's probably away from his dad, and fuck it, he can do whatever he wants now. But like his position should probably be in Maegor's, especially as a family member. They should have probably found him a spot inside. But they're all probably, him and Sansa are probably happy to be gone.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I think he probably deserves something a little bit higher honor based on birth, but no one's upset about it.
Also, the castle's main kitchen was just across a courtyard, so it wasn't underneath. It wasn't like it was right next to it.
Yeah, so he's not. That's what I was thinking. Initially, I thought he was on top of the kitchens, but I guess you don't want anything on top of the kitchens because there's a lot of smoke that comes up from the kitchens. So it's called the Kitchen's Keep, is where he's living, which is why I then thought he probably just
apartments for the chefs only. I mean, obviously, I think other people live there because we have proof somebody else lives there.
All right,
not important.
Tyrion's like, all right, fuck this. I'm not sleeping. Let me walk down out of my apartment through the shits, and we pass a room with a new name. With a girl snoring named Brella.
Yep, she's the other new maid. So so where did Brella come from though?
She's another maid, right?
Yep, another maid got hired by Varys, and she has a good reputation because she used to be.
She was with Lord Renly.
Yes, so she was good at being deaf, dumb, and mute.
To secrets.
Yeah, she's been around important people in the past.
Which again, like, is definitely I think the whole depth of it is again implying his like sexuality, right?
Yeah, obviously it didn't get out, so yeah, she was good with him.
Brella's snoring. Shay doesn't like it though. Shay's not catching the disease like she used to.
Yeah, that's true because they probably share. They're like roommates now.
They're definitely sharing quarters.
Yeah. So, but I was thinking about Brella. Two things. One, she came from Varys, so like, is she like a Varys spy?
Comes up a little. Later.
She's definitely connected to him, right? Like she has to be.
And then two, the fact that she like was for Renly, like, does taking on the same maid, like if everybody knew about Renly, insinuate almost that you have something to hide, right?
I mean,
nah, it's still all speculation. Like I'm sure Cersei hopes that I would think that everybody's maid would hope that their maid is tight-lipped.
Exactly. Yeah, that's for sure a requirement of the servants.
Especially in this place.
So, Renly's dead. Let me spill all this dirty laundry out. I feel like that would be bad work ethics there for the maids.
It's not going to win you any future work. Yeah. Yep, gotcha. Cool. Yeah, so he goes down.
Down to the dragon room. Shay's down there waiting.
This is I didn't realize this until this read through. It kind of makes all like the secret passages like less secret. It's literally like in the base. You just go to the basement and then you're like in the secret like. Arya was in this like secret room where there's like mystery people were walking through.
Skulls.
Arya was in this room.
I mean, was it secret or was it just a dark room that Arya couldn't see her way out? I think
that's
what
he's saying.
Like jumping through windows and stuff.
I mean, Arya slid in through the windows. It felt more secret in the past.
Yeah,
and I never realized it was.
Yeah.
It's just the basement of the kitchen keep.
Exactly. I mean, it makes sense. Like, where's Robert going to store when he wants to take the dragon skulls out of the throne room, where's he going to store them? In like a secret passageway? Or like, no, just put them in like the basement. Yeah, that makes more sense. Just, throw them in the basement. So. Yeah. But it just took some of the mystery out of it for me. Tyrion's like, yeah, a lot of the different buildings are connected underground. So he just went down there to the basement, walks down the hallway, finds the door, goes inside, and he finds, like we said, dragon skulls and naked Shay.
He's pumped. But he's also like, come out of there, right?
Immediately aroused. She's standing inside a jaw.
Yeah. That's for scale, right? Like, I feel like that's the point of this, is like just to show how big these dragon heads are.
Yeah, I think the scale is her dress was hanging on a tooth that was as tall as she was.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I guess what I'm getting at, is we're trying to get more visual of these dragons.
Yeah, and Tyrion says he can't tell which one it is, Balerion or Vhagar. Again, just cool because Vhagar is one of the dragons that was still alive at the time of House of the Dragon, so the show that's currently coming out at the time of this recording. One of these dragons was still alive, and it's a big boy, big girl, actually.
Which one do you think she was in, Vhagar or Balerion?
It's hard to tell. He even says it's hard to tell.
Yeah. Big dragon.
Yeah. But yeah, she's naked. She's like, you got to come save me from the dragon's jaws. But when he goes over to her, it's pre-dawn, so no light.
Yeah, it's dark.
And he has this candle. A taper. A taper just means a candle on a plate, right?
It's just a big candle, tapered candle.
Like that plate with the little hook?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That we don't have anymore, that they probably had in the past for candles. But
back when they were giving anesthesia.
Exactly, back before babies got anesthesia.
No.
And but when he gets over to her, she blows out the candle, and now it's in pitch black, which I feel like is dangerous. They don't say it here, but I feel like when Arya was here, and I didn't look it up, I feel like Arya says that these teeth were like as sharp as swords. Like they were
super sharp. It's like you trip and fall. Tyrion trips and falls and impales himself on a Balerion tooth. You're
I don't know if
gone.
he'd be tall enough.
A little molar in the back, Maybe not the big guy, but
Molars are flat.
not for a dragon. They're not chewing on lettuce.
It's like what like are animal teeth really that sharp? Like even a tiger's canines. Like is it sharp enough that like if you wouldn't prick your finger
It's
on
not
it?
razor
like,
sharp.
Obviously,
No.
if a tiger with
it's
like
puncture,
200 pounds
yeah.
of pressure
Yeah.
is crushing you, it's sharp enough to fuck you up then. But like it's not like if you touch it with your finger, it's gonna prick you, right?
I got bit by a dog, and it wasn't sharp. It was just a puncture wound, round puncture
Again,
wound.
that's what I'm going on. That's what I'm going on is my dog. My dog's teeth are sharp, but they're not sharp enough that like I'm gonna be like, oh, accidentally
They're not
draw
razor
blood. You know what I
sharp.
mean?
Yeah.
Exactly. But like sharks do have sharp teeth, right? Like
Yeah,
sharks,
sharp.
you could
Why
probably
are we
maybe
talking
just
about
like
teeth?
poke it and be like, fuck. We have time to get down this tangent.
Yeah, I just don't think dragons have molars. So I think if any of them are
Where do dragons fall?
in the mythological creature category, that it doesn't matter.
Their teeth are fireproof too, Nelson.
Maybe a shark is the only animal I can think of that actually has sharp like that, like prick your finger teeth. And I don't even, maybe I'm totally wrong about the shark. Maybe they're not even that sharp. But could dragons be like that? Is there an animal? Because George likes to use reference. Like, for example,
Maybe dragons have shark teeth.
like you guys said, it's mythical. But George has said, like, the reason my dragons don't have 2 legs and 4 legs and wings is because there's no animal on Earth that has 4 legs and wings. You know how some dragons have 4 legs and wings? He said any animal on Earth, if it has wings, it only has 2 legs.
Yeah, like what's the Dragonite from Pokemon?
I feel like a lot of like Asian dragons, like the
Charizard.
really long ones. Does Charizard have 4
Charizard,
legs
yeah.
and wings?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's like a T-Rex with wings.
I guess Charizard's an Asian dragon. It's from Nintendo,
Yeah.
right?
Charizard is
A lot of
has-
Asian dragons
is like
don't
a
even have
T-Rex
wings,
with
I thought.
wings, and Dragonite is like a teddy bear dragon with wings.
Now you're getting into Pokemon. I don't know. I don't know. I don't play Pokemon. I only know Bulbasaur, Charizard, and Pikachu.
I'd play Pokemon right now if I had a working Game Boy.
Back onto this chapter, sort of. I don't think the teeth are that sharp, just because George, again, seems to go off real world, likes to be somewhat realistic.
Maybe they're like
Scientific.
snake
The real
teeth.
world dragon
I
teeth
mean-
that he found.
So like,
I mean, he literally said, like, and there's an interview. I'll find the clip where he says, "I'd like to be as scientific as possible. That's why my dragons
some snake
don't
teeth
have."
are pretty sharp.
That's true. And dragons are probably more snaky than anything
Yeah,
else.
yeah, and that's why they wouldn't be drinking milk off of Danny's tit.
Well, they didn't grow in yet. They were just baby dragons.
All right, let's get back to the chapter. There's dragons. It's dark now. They're chasing each other around. Shay's naked. Tyrion can't catch her. She eventually lets herself get caught. There's a part where she's like, "Come on, you have to have played Monsters and Maidens." He's like, "You call me a monster?" She's like, "Nah, I'm not a maiden."
Well, I'm not calling myself a maiden.
Somewhere in there, they start having sex.
Yep. And then they diddle, and then Shay's like, why don't we just drug your wife, and then we can
Bang
diddle
next
right
to her.
next to her. She won't even know. What a weirdo.
So pretty much, she's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "Oh, what the fuck isn't wrong?" Right? Like he's like, "My wife, my sister, my nephew, my father, the Tyrells, Varys, Pycelle, Littlefinger, Red Viper, Dorne, and the way my face looks." Right? Like he's like, of course I'm fucking stressed."
I'm ugly. I was ugly, and now I'm uglier.
You think he means like actually how I look? I thought it was more just like and me, like my whole fucking life, pretty much. But I guess that makes sense. Like he is uglier than usual.
I probably looks in the mirror and doesn't really care for what he's looking at.
Yeah.
I mean that's true. Like, and what she goes is she starts kissing like right on his scar and stuff, right? Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
that's
even
what
like she's like, "Oh, well, I love you," and he's like, "Yeah, but I'm kind of like paid you to say that. Like, you don't even really. Do you even really mean it?"
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's like, she's so innocent. He's like, what am I saying? Like, again, he's done this before. He like catches himself. So this is what I wanted to talk to ask Kyle about earlier when you were kind of going through your short summary. But I know he's caught himself before, where he's like, "Oh, I'm so in love. She's so innocent," and then he's like, "Slap, idiot. She's a whore." But has he ever like thought about actually like trying to cut it off with her? Like that's what he's like considering here.
No, not that I know. It seemed like even when like he first came to King's Landing, like everything was like all about sneaking her in. It was never
sure.
about, like I need to end this, right? Like that didn't seem like an option. It still kind of seems weird to me. Like it doesn't seem in character for him yet, right? Like,
but there was a few times where he was definitely like, "Idiot, snap out of it. She's a whore. Like don't be falling for her."
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like that's like who he usually is. Whereas here he like goes down this huge path of like, who can I marry her to?
Again, I just don't remember. Like, even Jeff, do you remember when the only time I can think it might have happened is right after the Battle of Blackwater, right? Because they took Alayaya and she got like punished.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe right after that he was like, like if they actually found Shay, it would be bad. We should stop this. And then I think they fuck and he's like, you know what? Never mind, or something like that. But I think it might have. I think he's might have thought of it once or twice, maybe just once, maybe
when did
just
they
then.
meet? And did they meet in the bedroom that was
Varys'
Varys,
bedroom.
where he like?
Yeah.
When was that? After battle?
They might have even done
Pre-battle?
it twice. I think twice actually.
Like I feel like that might have been like, hey, this is the last time type of thing. But I don't. I'm just kind of guessing.
I think you're right. I think that was what I'm talking about too. It was probably right after the Battle of Blackwater. Tyrion was fucked up. He didn't have anywhere to take her.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't remember his face being all messed up. So I don't know. I don't know that it matters really. I think you're right though. I think he has kind of started, this idea has started floating through his mind. But at the same time, it seems like not something he would entertain for long to me.
Well, I mean, clearly it only lasts. I mean,
here though,
I guess this chapter ends with him
with
still
him
thinking
on
it,
the thought still. Exactly. It seems like that's now his opinion or his new motive.
I think the bigger thing that we need to talk about is not that he's afraid that she's gonna get caught, but now Varys might rat him out. Like I think that's the bigger. It shows the conundrum of the relationship with Varys. Is like,
Well, essentially, what's happening? This is where he's regretting like pushing her so far, right? Like he's gotten her too close, and this is also where like now, yeah, like you said, Jeff, Varys has something over him. Like he's like Varys told him not to do this, and if anybody asks, because like he's gonna tell him the fucking truth. He's like, I don't know you shit here, Tyrion.
yeah, I just think it shows like Varys has always known about this, right? So like,
let's read this little quote here about that Varys says here. What you're talking about.
I have no fierce sellsword to protect me, no valiant brother to avenge me, only some little birds who whisper in my ear. With those whisperings I must buy my life anew each day.
Pardon me if I do not weep for you.
I shall, but you must pardon me if I do not weep for Shay. I confess, I do not understand what there is in her to make a clever man like you act such a fool.
You might, if you were not a eunuch.
Is that the way of it? A man may have wits, or a bit of meat between his legs, but not both? Perhaps I should be grateful I was cut then.
Yep, that's right. Ending. So I think that's pretty much what we're talking about, right? Is like the beginning part there where Varys is like, yo, all I got secrets. Like,
I gotta survive.
When you want secrets, I give you secrets. When Cersei wants them, I give them to her, right? So
I think the kind of the not crazy, but like this could have happened at any time. Like it's just now being brought to our attention. But right when he brought Shay in, he could have been like, "Yo, Cersei, like I just helped your brother. Like I'm helping you too." Like the point I'm trying to make is that with Varys now being a 2-ton guy, which I think we've already known, it's no secret, right? Yeah. But like he's been gone. Where the fuck's he been for the last half a book? What kind of shit's he been doing? What secrets has he been telling?
That's a good point.
That's the point I was getting at. It's like, what the fuck's he been doing this whole time? We haven't seen him. When's the last time we've seen Varys? He's
this kind of stuff.
I don't remember.
Letting
probably early in
Tyrion
this
into
book
the
when
room.
he was So I looked back at the notes. He did try and say, Shay, get out of here, but then he said by the morning that was like the thought was gone. That was it was a Tyrion 2 of this book. Varys, I'm sure, was in that one as well.
What I was gonna say in relation to Jeff is also like this wasn't nearly as prominent, right, in front of everybody before, so like it wasn't as big of a risk. Whereas now, like I said, he pushed Shay
right
into the limelight. She's a central figure in their lives now.
A lot more susceptible to getting caught now that they are interacting on the daily.
Exactly.
Yeah, to me, I think Varys' biggest thing isn't necessarily like telling people secrets. It's literally like he'll keep your secret. He'll help you out with secret stuff and not tell anybody about it, right? It's not like he's telling people. I mean, he tells the people in King's Landing about secrets from outside King's Landing. But with inside King's Landing, it seems like he just helps everyone with their own secrets, but doesn't cross those streams, right? Like, yo, Tyrion, I'll help you with all the Shay stuff as long as nobody asks me about Shay. If someone asks me about Shay, I'll be straight up. And now, like, it's kind of what you guys were just saying, like, when she was just off in a manse, no one's gonna be like, yo, Varys, what's up with that girl off in a manse? But when she was with Lollies, there was a little chance that like, yo, what's up with this new maid for Lollies? Now that she's with Sansa, there's an even bigger chance. And he's like, when that happens, if someone ever asks me, I'm gonna be straight up with them. So
the shoe is gonna fall.
yeah.
Ain't gonna lie.
I do like the part about like you can either be smart or have a dick, not both. I like that one. That little conversation. And Tyrion knows he's right. He's like, fuck, Varys is right. Like, I'm stressing out about this whole thing. All it does is add stress to my life. Plus, I feel guilty that I'm like stepping out on Sansa. He's like, I shouldn't feel guilty because she doesn't want me anyway, but I do feel guilty. So,
yep. All right. So now he's like, damn, should I just tell Sansa about Shay? Like, would that make everything easier? Like, hey, you don't got to worry about me. I can get my fix over here, and we can kind of keep doing what we're doing and maybe give you some relief.
Yep. Exactly. Like Sansa might like it that if I have somebody else to just like, and she knows that I don't care about like dealing with her because I have somebody else to go deal with. And he's like, even Ned, even her dad, oh so honorable father, had a bastard. Like she has to, maybe she'll be up to a concubine.
He had a little concubine.
Yeah.
He had a little agreement on the road.
He's pretty smart to end that idea quickly, though. What a dumb idea, right? Like this girl hates you. Like it's like
I don't think Sansa would really care, to be honest.
I don't think she would care, and who would she tell?
But no, that's like a huge secret that could ruin him.
Sure, but who would she tell?
Anybody.
I see what Kyle's saying.
That's a coin, like a huge chip that he's giving her.
Yeah, it's like the same thing that Varys has. Now Sansa could have it. I mean, what would it get you? Like, you tell Tywin, and then they kill Shay, and then Tyrion is just. I don't think even if Varys tells Cersei, the worst thing is that they kill Shay. Like, they're not killing Tyrion over this. Yeah. They're just gonna kill Shay.
Shay will get the Tysha treatment. Yeah, right. Like, it sucks to say, but I'm sure Tywin would do something similar, right? Like Tyrion didn't marry Shay, but the last whore Tyrion married, he had the guards run through, and then that was Tywin's punishment last time. It's not going to be better, right?
Probably, yeah.
I think I could see Sansa being a little like, one, she hates this guy, right? She doesn't. Like, at some point, she's got to realize that he's getting the pressure to consummate this marriage. Now, he hasn't yet to this point, but that's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
From the Lannister's point of view. If she can be like, oh shit, he's not even worried about consummating the marriage with me, fine, I'll do this fake thing and like let me kind of live my shitty life here. But
yeah, and I see what you guys were talking about with like she could tell somebody else. I was more thinking there's a part here where he's like in general, little girls aren't good at keeping secrets, and I'm like, she's literally going to Godswood every night under your nose, keeping secrets from you, right? So like, I was thinking like she could keep the secret if she wanted. You guys were more saying like she wouldn't want to keep the secret. She would tell someone to fuck you over.
Well, the other thing he brings up is that she has one pretty bad experience of keeping a secret in the past, where she told Cersei exactly what her dad was trying to do and got her dad killed. So I mean, like,
it's funny. He calls her a rat.
Yeah, like I mean, like she has a reputation, right?
Yeah. Again, I think a lot of Sansa fans think that was like a manipulation thing, that she had no really choice except for to tell Cersei what was going on.
I mean, there was definitely manipulation.
I don't know if I agree. Pretty much Cersei was like, oh, you're going to tell me? Actually, I think Sansa might have done that one kind of on her own. Just because she didn't. Ned was like, hey, we're leaving King's Landing. And Sansa's like,
she's like, no, I want to be queen.
No!
Yeah. I want to marry Joffrey.
Exactly, so.
No.
Yeah, I don't know if I have much defense. Again, Sansa fans, let us know the defense. I don't have much one.
Well, she was kind of manipulated into that way of thinking of she had to be queen.
Yep. Yeah. So the other thing we haven't mentioned. Sorry, the last thing we haven't mentioned is what is today? Like, I don't know if it was mentioned at all in the up until here at the end of the chapter. I don't know if it was mentioned at the beginning.
It's not mentioned until the last sentence, I don't think.
Okay, gotcha. So what's today?
Or like the last paragraph.
Tyrion woke up early before dawn on the first day, a new day.
A new day, a new year, a new century. I survived the Green Fork and the Blackwater. I can bloody well survive King Joffrey's wedding.
Yep. So again, we knew Joffrey was getting married on the first day of the new century. So a new day, a new year, a new century. Joffrey's wedding. So he woke. This was all on the morning of Joffrey's wedding day, and the first day of the new century, which is just great for me timeline wise because it's like, fuck yeah, there's no question about this one.
Yeah.
And it's like gives us a good spot to go off like other ones, like on before and after. We should have like if we ever hear like this was like a week before, this was a week after. You know what I mean? So I just I love it for the timeline.
No, it's a good waypoint.
There's also a song, I don't know if you guys know it. It's a new dawn.
It's a new day. It's a new life
for me.
and I'm feeling good.
Oh, great sax. Yeah, exactly. That's I think of that when I read that line. So just throwing it out there. Listen to that song. I think it's called "Feeling Good."
Yeah, I know the most recent one is Bublé just redid it. I can't give anybody credit before Michael Bublé, but I know it's not his song.
Yeah, that's one I've heard too, though. It's a good cover.
So he's pretty much like, what can I do with Shay? He's like, I can send her to the whorehouse, right? Shatia's whorehouse, where it would be the best. Only the best would be,
Make some bank.
Yep.
Yeah.
She'd be able to wear jewels and stuff.
Or maybe I could marry her to Bronn. Like,
He would like that.
Bronn wouldn't mind. At least I'd still get to see her. Like, I wouldn't be involved anymore. And then he mentions
it would be better than she could have ever hoped for.
Yeah, exactly. He's a knight. Or Sir Talad.
And he picks this other knight.
Who's Sir Talad?
Is this a new cat? Yeah.
No, we've heard of him. I think we've seen him a few times. He's just like a guy who's been in the yard fight. Let me, if I can click on his note. He just wants me to correct his name, the spelling of his name.
Nice.
So 3 appearances so far. He was seen in Clash of Kings with Tyrion, practicing in the yard with Bronn. Bronn says he is the best out of everyone in the yard. So that's pretty good.
That's high praise.
Sansa 1, Storm of Swords. He sees him practicing in the yard driving back one of the Redwine twins. Sansa 3, Sansa dances with him for a moment during the feast. I think that is her wedding.
Probably.
So,
yeah, he's pretty much like, he's a choice dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a good knight who's been around King's Landing.
But he'd be pissed if he found out about her past, probably.
Well, is it he'd be pissed or like things would go bad? Like he'd be, I guess, he'd be pissed to the point of the marriage is off, we're done. I tell Tywin or something.
Yeah, like what did Tyrion do to me, right? Like,
because if he's just like, oh, I'm mad at you, then it's like, okay, who cares? They have an argument, but it's like I'm mad with consequences.
It seems like it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You married me to a whore. How could you do this?
Yep. But he decides by the end of the chapter.
Sir Talad's the guy.
That's it. We're going with Sir Talad. Shade. Basically, I love. She gives him the "I love you." I don't know if this is the first time we've heard that, but she says "I love you." Yeah, also, there's this new pet name. I don't know if we've heard before. My Giant. Is that new?
I feel like she's called him that.
My Giant of Lannister.
He's been saying my giant. She's been saying that since I think the first meeting.
It seems like
okay, just playing on his insecurities. But she hits the "I love you" here, and he doesn't say it back, but he's like, "I love you too," and he's like, you know what? Because I actually love this girl, I gotta send her away. Like, even though she's a whore, like she deserves better than like the risk I'm putting her at. Like, she could literally, if she's found out she's dead tomorrow, like she deserves better than that. Sir Talad it is. End of chapter. A decent man and tall. Again, Tyrion playing on his own insecurities on that one.
So, Kyle, we're going to Joffrey's wedding.
Kyle, did you see the next chapter?
Yeah, it's
At
Sansa.
some point.
You get more info here.
It's been a while since we had a Sansa chapter.
We're not leaving the kitchens. The kitchen apartments we're staying.
I mean, it's still more info, right? Like, from a different perspective, at least.
This might be a little spoiler. It picks up right on the heels of this.
Wow, spoiler.
Jesus, Nelson.
You'll get it in a paragraph.
You're the worst. Unbelievable. I don't even want to talk to you anymore.
This is only her 4th chapter, and the last Sansa chapter was her getting married. So it was a while ago. It was chapter 28.
Yeah, I know,
this is
right?
chapter 58.
I'm interested to pick back up on her. We'll see what's going on. We get some answers to like what you guys were saying, like what she thinks, who's alive, maybe things like that.
It's cool because like we've seen her around.
She's also supposed to be escaping, right? Like that's like today's the day she's supposed to be out of here.
Ooh, that's true.
So
what happens?
She's been going to the woods a lot, so I think that plan's probably underway. So
that's interesting.
We'll see.
I started taking notes in the first half of the Sansa chapter, and I didn't like remember that. And now there's some things that make more sense with
that. Because she's like excited or something, probably.
She's like nervous. She's like nervous. Yeah. I'm like, why is Sansa like nervous? I thought it was just because it was Joffrey's wedding and she like didn't want to get like Joffrey like
she's
here or something. But I'm like,
I think she's getting out. I think something's got to go right for these Starks, man.
All right, cool. We'll see what happens next chapter.
She's getting out.
Sansa 4. We'll see Kyle to that one. We'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section. Bye-bye.
Bye, Kyle.
Later, nerds.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle. Get the hell out of here.
See you on the next one for Sansa 4. Now, onto the spoiler section for Tyrion 7. Jeff, you got anything? Short one.
It's a nude. I got two things that perked my eyes as I read them.
Go ahead.
The first one is Shay admitting that she's not a maiden. Not for the fact that we knew she wasn't a maiden, but to the fact that she's been working for Tywin this whole time and she's a little liar. She's been hiding stuff, right? Like, I never said I was, like, I don't know. Like, it just gave me hiding stuff vibes.
So we've been talking about has Shay been working for Tywin, like, for a while. Like, I think there's possibilities it's going back to even before she was in Tyrion's service, like when Bronn went to find someone to go to, like, right at the battle of the Green Fork when Tyrion first met her. I think we've suggested it could have been way back then. Now that I was thinking about it a little bit in this chapter, I think Tyrion, remember he had a conversation with Tywin where he's like, I think Sansa's maids are spying on her. I think they're Cersei spies. And Tywin's like, she's your wife. Get rid of them and get new ones. Like, you're her husband. You can do that. And he's like, oh shit. And then this is the first chapter we actually hear about it.
So he does it and employs Shay.
So Tyrion does that, employs Shay. Maybe Tywin doesn't even care, doesn't notice. But especially because Tyrion talked to Tywin about this. I don't like the maid Cersei has for Sansa. After Tyrion switches them, is there any chance Tywin was like, hey, who are these new maids? And at least asked, if he didn't go and talk to the maids directly, asked Varys. And Varys told us in this chapter, if someone asked me, I'm not fucking lying. Again, I feel like if he would have told Tywin, Varys would have admitted that to Tyrion. He would have said like, yo, bro, I told your dad, so shit's about to happen, right? At least here.
Or Tywin would have already acted on it and Shay's head would be on a spike. Like,
well, hold on. So where does Tyrion find Shay at the end of this, all this whole deal?
Right. So you're saying that he finds out. Yeah. You're saying that he finds out and he's like, okay, like, instead of just killing Shay, like, let me actually, like, use her more.
You're my spy now.
To now to get Tyrion. Like,
you're my spy now on Tyrion. Because Tyrion basically was saying, I don't like that Cersei has spies that are Sansa's bedmaids. Tyrion swaps the bedmaids. Tywin's like, you know what? These girls are going to be my spies now. I'm going to get in contact with them and then basically be like, you're mine. So he's like, Varys, who are these girls? He probably tells, again, all this is speculation. Varys would probably tell Tywin, yeah, this girl was Renly's. She was keeping all his secrets. She's now keeping Tyrion's secrets. Shay is Tyrion's lover. And Tywin's like, bring her to me. And then Tywin and Shay have this meeting. He's like, yo, you're going to stay alive, but you're going to tell me everything that happens with you and my son. And then I feel like it's hard to believe that Tywin would be banging Shay at the same time Tyrion's banging her. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he's cool with that. But who knows? Maybe he's also like, and you're going to start fucking me too. It turns out we don't know anything about how Tywin deals with whores.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely, I think it's plausible.
I think it's more plausible than her being under his thumb the whole time. That he would raise his eyebrows at this point and be like, you know what, let me dig into this a little bit.
Well, let's not think that like she was a plant. I don't know if I truly believe that she was a plant in Tyrion's war tent, right? Like, she might have just been a camp follower. They have their night before the battle. Tywin 1 thought he was going to die in that battle, right? So,
true.
There's not a whole lot of need to have Shay then. But once, like, I'm sure he had somebody spying, like, yo, see, did he tell him not, like, okay, like, do what you have to do, but you're not bringing one of them with us, right?
You're not bringing that whore back. Yeah, he said like
so
that
he
whore.
Knew,
I don't think he's had her name, but he said like.
But I'm gonna assume now he knows who that whore was, and someone in the company that takes Tyrion to King's Landing. One of them has to be under Tywin's guy. So now he's like, all right, I know Tyrion just had a night with this girl. I told him not to bring said girl.
Let me pause you real 1 sec. I wanted to, like, if you were laying up multiple choice question answers to when Shay could have flipped to Tywin. So we have the one initially. I think you're suggesting there's
she-
a potential flipping point like right before they left, like to go to King's
Yep.
Landing. Like he's
Yep.
like, don't take that whore, and he tells one of his men or tells Shay directly, he better not take this whore, or tell Shay if he takes you, tell me what's going on.
I think there's 4 options, and I don't even think the 4th one is really an option.
Okay, so that's 2, right? When he first meets her, she
Third
was already a
one.
plant, and then he converts her before sometime between Tyrion meeting her and then leaving for King's Landing.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Option C would be right now, this chapter, like, or Varys somehow.
When she's appointed, like what I was suggesting.
Yes.
That's C. Okay.
D would be does Tyrion send her away, and she gets angry, and I'm just thinking of show. I don't remember how she becomes a witness in the trial.
Yeah. So the next chapters are Sansa, which is the breakfast leading up to the wedding.
Mhm.
There's Shay might be like a bedmaid in that, but there's no Tyrion Shay alone. The next Tyrion is the wedding. So this is the last interaction. Like, I understand what you're saying. In the show,
Yeah.
he has sent her away. None of that here. She literally Tyrion just gets
Right.
arrested. Pretty much.
Does
the next thing?
so?
The
So why
interaction.
does she become? Does she witness? Against him?
Cersei and Tywin would definitely call her in as a witness just because she's Sansa's bedmate. Sansa's missing. Tyrion is gone. Like Pod, Shay, and Brella are probably the best 3 witnesses. So she would probably just get brought in at that point. I think you're right. That's D. That's option D of when, because Shay flips at one point. Again, I don't think she was ever super loyal to Tyrion, but like she was more loyal to Tywin at some point. And we've laid out the 4 points, and I agree that's the last one.
Like Tyrion, does he do anything to spite her? Like does he have a conversation with her in the next 2 chapters before he gets arrested, where he's like, "No, I can't do this anymore. You have to go marry somebody else." Like,
Nope.
it's very obvious in the show she's pissed, right? Like
In the
you
show,
have
she's in love with
motive
him.
to flip. Yeah, there's
In the show,
motive
she's
for
in love
her
with him.
flipping.
In the book, she's not. Yeah. And this is one of the things that George in an interview has admitted. Like, he's like, I actually like the way the show did it better than the way I did it. In the books, she's just a camp follower. I think our George is like word for words. He's like, in the books, she was just a camp follower who was in it for the money.
Yeah.
Like that. He says that. Like, he's like, I liked how
no emotions.
He says I liked how the show actually weaved in a real love interest from Shay's side of it. He's like, I think they did it well.
Yeah.
But yeah, not in the books.
They gave her a motive to actually flip. That he sent her away.
Yeah.
And she was pissed.
Because I think if George wouldn't have said that, I'd be with you. And there's a chance that Shay actually maybe catches feels towards the end. Right? She drops the I love you right here. Like, maybe she is actually falling for him.
Mhm.
But I think there's enough evidence she doesn't. When Tyrion gets married to Sansa, he's like, who cares? You'll still have me. Like, she's like, okay being the side piece, right? Like,
Mhm.
it kind of shows to me that she's like knows her role. She's a whore the whole time.
I'm leaning on B or C. I would say those are the most likely. I don't think Tywin, one, needs to employ camp followers that are spies, because he probably already has a spy. Like, he had to have somebody watching as Tyrion left, and he's like, oh, there's, like, even if he's just on top of the hill watching Tyrion leave, which I don't even know if he did, but he's like, oh wait, that's that girl. She's leaving with him.
So yeah, I think the only way you get A, meaning she was a plant before she ever met Tyrion, is if Bronn is really playing the game. Right? Tyrion says, Bronn, go get me a girl. If Bronn is like, because I think at that point Bronn has been introduced to Tywin. Right? Earlier in that chapter, Tyrion meets with Tywin. It's like, this is Shagga, son of Dolph. Bronn, son of, you wouldn't know him. That might be a show only thing, but like, I think that scene happens in the books right before the end, where he's like, go get me a girl. Maybe Bronn was like, you know what, this guy, the dad is more important than the son. How do I get in his good graces? And when Tyrion's go get me someone. If Bronn goes to Tywin and is like, yo, your son wants a whore, do you want me to plant somebody? I think that's a potential thing. Then, but I think if you're going down that road, you have to know that when Tywin says you will not bring that whore to King's Landing, he's using reverse psychology, knowing that'll make Tyrion do it. I don't think that's a far stretch to assume. I think it's a pretty good bet, right? That if you want Tyrion to bring her, the best thing you could tell him is don't bring her. So, but I agree. I don't think A is very likely. I think that's how it would happen. I agree. Tywin doesn't just have random camp follower spies, but I think Bronn could have played a part
under
there.
his dime too, like, or that he's paying.
Yeah, but I think Bronn could have played a part, but I don't think it likely. So I agree.
Yeah. So I just think it's her admitting she's not a maiden again, I'm not taking it in the terms of like her maidenhood is broke, right? It's more so like I'm not
innocent.
doing the curtsy thing that I'm not a lady, right? And
I've been around the block.
She's kind of pretending that she's a lady in a way, like at least his lady.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like, hey, like, yeah, no, I'm not a mate. I'm not your lady. I'm actually fucking working for your dad. So just give me that vibe. All right, and then my other one, big symbolism here. The Targaryen dragons are emerging from darkness.
From when the dawn's coming through the windows.
Yeah. And I'm taking it a step further. Black amidst the gray.
Keep going. Do you have the whole quote? Or is that all you had written down?
I can find it.
I can keep going. I think I don't know if it's right after this, but the next part I had was one dragon skull looks more. Actually, I think this is way earlier, so I might be wrong. I think much earlier when he first looks at Shay, and he's like, "Is that Balerion? Is that Vhagar?" One dragon skull looks much like another. I think this is like a parallel to two different things.
The skulls of the Targaryen dragons were emerging from the darkness around them, black amidst the gray. Day comes too soon. A new day.
Yeah, that's when the new century, right? Yeah, I think we read that quote. Yeah,
we did.
I was thinking of a different part of the dragon skulls. That's a good one. What's interesting there, I want you to keep that in mind when you read the next Sansa chapter. Again, it's a short one. I think some of the points I had here relate to that Sansa chapter. The Sansa chapter starts with her waking up from a dream.
Okay.
But also in the Sansa chapter, she sees two clouds. It's weird. There's like two paragraphs about it where she's looking out the window and there's these two clouds that she thinks look like castles, and they're in the eastern sky as dawn's breaking. She wakes up a little bit before dawn, so as the sun's coming up, she's watching these clouds, and she says the clouds go from gray to black, from black to gray to all the colors. And it made me think of the dragon skulls, because that's what Tyrion's seeing at dawn. As the dawn's coming, he barely sees Shay, and then he sees the dragon skulls emerging from black from the gray.
Yeah.
And again, when I read the Sansa thing, it's weird that like the two paragraphs about the clouds, I'm like, you're gonna hate next chapter when I bring it up. It's like, what the fuck is the point of these clouds? It's one of those things that it seems like it means something, but I have no fucking clue. Like the clouds collide and turn into one castle and then end up crumbling, and they turn to gold beforehand. And Shay even comments on it.
I'll have to read it and I'll give you my. I'll save my insight for next week when I read it.
Yeah, I was definitely going to ask you on a next chapter, but that's what that line reminded me of: the dark skulls fading to black, because they're both seeing the same thing, something black fading to gray at the same time when dawn is breaking. Yeah, and I love dawn.
Well,
I shouldn't even piece it with dawn.
I think this is. I think it's pointing towards Jon Snow, right? The black amidst the gray is the biggest part. One, and I just think it's because he is wearing all blacks, right? He's a member of the Night's Watch. Amidst the gray of Starks, right? The Stark colors.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. That's a really good point.
That's the whole point that and I guess like the dragons are. You got Dany's now emerging. You got at some point. Maybe this is like into Fagon. But I think this was like a big Jon Snow to Targaryen deal here.
I really like that, and then I think you should keep an eye out for that for the castles too, because again, I think the cloud castle Sansa sees again. They arise and then they collide. So maybe that's like Stark Lannister
two houses
colliding,
come together.
Targaryen colliding for Jon Snow as it fades from black to gray, and then for Sansa it fades to gold as the dawn breaks through it. It goes black to gray to gold. But keep an eye out. We'll talk about more of that one in the next chapter. Another thing I had for the dragons, which was similar, when he first goes in there, she's standing in the jaws of one, and he thinks one dragon skull looks much like another.
You're right, Vhagar and
Balerion. You can't tell which one. So, but like symbolism wise,
but you're saying
now that I bring attention to you, I have two thoughts on it. One dragon skull looks much like another. I think one of them might be a stretch. One is the one I think is a stretch is Fagon. Right, like, oh, maybe one dragon looks like another. It's hard to tell if he's a real dragon or not. He's gonna look like one. He's gonna have the golden hair and purple eyes.
Well, let's take it a step further, right? We know that the baby's skull was crushed, right?
I wasn't thinking that. You're talking about Aegon, Rhaegar's son.
Rhaegar's son's skull was crushed.
Oh, that's a great point.
So So like, oh, one skull looks like another one, fake skull. It's actually true. Now we're going true Aegon.
Well, I guess the fake skull would be Fagon.
Yeah, the actual dead. I'm saying the crushed
no,
skull.
you're right. The fake skull. No, you're right. You're right. If it's a fake skull, it would be real Aegon. Yeah. So okay. So that's a great point. I love everything you just said. I wasn't thinking about that at all, but I don't think it's clear for people who might not be as well versed. What Jeff I think is hinting at is, so the theory. What Varys claims is, hey, I took a baby and swapped it. When I knew this city was getting sacked, I took a baby from Flea Bottom and swapped that with the baby in the crib of Rhaegar's baby's room. That baby's named Aegon, right? So it makes everything confusing. It would be Aegon the Sixth, the next Aegon after Egg. But when the mountain comes and climbs, the mountain smashes the baby's head against the wall, right? Varys' claim is we swapped those babies. The baby's head that they smashed is a fake skull that got smashed, and we actually have the real Aegon, the real Rhaegar's baby, across the sea. Here, you're saying one dragon skull looks like another. It's hard to tell what a skull looks like.
Yeah.
They smashed Aegon's skull. Varys could be telling the truth. They might have just swapped out a dead baby for another dead baby and have the real
Which
one.
gives us now, if we take all the symbolism for this chapter, we have Dany, true Aegon, and Jon Snow, who maybe it's just not Aegon, maybe he's Aegon too. Maybe
is going to appear to be a dragon, right? Come from the black to the gray of the dragon skull.
So now we have the three heads of the dragon.
And that was last chapter. Last chapter, Dany was like, I need three heads of the dragon. If I sleep with Jorah and Daario, they can ride dragons. So there you go. Here's your answer. That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
I just saw the whole book. They don't even need to put out When's a Winner. Just listen to our podcast.
But the other thing I had for this one is in the next two books, there is a skull. Not a dragon skull, but a skull that they're passing around. And there's questions on whose skull this is. Is it the real skull you think it is?
Is it Ned's skull?
Dorne demands a skull. Oberyn is killed. The mountain is also killed. Air quotes. You guys can't see it. The mountain is killed. And I think Balon Swan takes the mountain skull down to Dorne. The mountain skull.
Yeah.
There's a big... we know Robert Strong... Basically, Qyburn says to Cersei, "Oh, there's a guy in the Kingsguard who's ready to fight for you. His name's Robert Strong. He's really big. This is." I thought
the Strong family died.
They did.
Okay. Okay.
They died out. I don't know how they play that. I don't know how they plan on passing that off. So this is what the wiki says about Robert Strong. Before her Walk of Atonement, Queen Cersei sends word to Qyburn to replace the empty spot on the Kingsguard with one that would serve her as a champion by trial by combat. When Queen Cersei arrives at the Red Keep after walking naked from the Great Sept of Baelor, Sir Robert Strong lifts her up, carrying her to the gatehouse, and is then introduced as her champion by Qyburn. Later on, Sir Kevin Lannister remembers that Meryn Trant claimed that Robert took neither food nor water, and Sir Boros Blunt said that he never seen him use the privy. Kevin has inexplicit suspicions about the identity of the man, suspicions he believes are shared with Mace and Randall Tarley.
Robert Strong is the mountain. Robert Strong is the mountain zombie.
I mean, he's 8 feet tall. So,
yeah.
There's a lot of theories about, like, and I think some of them I was talking to.
I forgot. I didn't remember that they gave him a name.
Yeah. And I was talking, again, you're right. It's suspicious that nobody brings up Strong, because I think that house is, maybe I'm wrong, and Larry's does have kids, and then they just, like, get all their land stripped, but they're still, like, a really minor house, and that's why, like,
yeah,
it makes sense that a new Strong popped up, but I don't know. I thought that, because they were the Lords of Harrenhal in the time of Dance the Dragon. I should probably know this, but not the book Dance the Dragon, the show. To bring it back to this chapter, one dragon skull looks much like another. Again, the dragon part, this is Xing out the dragon part here and just focus on the skull.
Skulls.
One skull looks much like another.
Well, if they could have sent a random person's bones up with Ned, like, that's not Ned.
So there's a few thoughts. I think there's two theories that one, Robert Baratheon's head is on it, because we never hear what happens to Robert's body, and they call him Robert Strong. And the other thought is that Robb Stark's head is on it, because Joffrey wants Robb Stark's head shipped down, so Sansa will have to open it at the wedding. But maybe it doesn't get. maybe it doesn't get there in time, but they still sent it, and now they
Why
have
can't
it.
they
And
just keep the
Kyber,
Mountain's head? Why they have to take?
why didn't they leave his head? One theory is they cut his head off because they need a big skull, so they had to cut his head off.
They had his actual skull, so it is his.
Yeah, I think it
actual
makes the
skull.
most sense that it's still his head. I think it makes the most sense that it's still his own head. But there are theories that it's that.
I mean, isn't the whole thing that the Mountain wasn't actually dead though? Like, are we really bringing? I mean, I guess we've brought. There's weirder shit that's happening, right? So I guess it's not out of the realm of.
There are like major Game of Thrones theorists who I think refer to Gregor or Robert Strong as science white. So you have whites, then you have Beric and Jon and Catelyn who are fire whites, or like whites brought back with fire magic, and then
this is Maester. This is a Maester
science
white.
white. People call it a science. I've heard it referred to as a science white. I think that might be in Deep Geek or History of Westeros that says that. Trying to give credit to wherever I stole that from, but yeah, people think this guy was actually dead and Qyburn brought him back with some magic. And again, the only hint of this, one of the quotes I pointed out from Qyburn before is Jaime asked him like, "Do you believe in ghosts or something like that?" And Qyburn says, "If I once walked into a room and there was no one in there, but I knew that there was a woman sitting in a chair in that room just a moment before." Like from the smell in the air or the seat mark left in the cushion, or I knew it. And he's like, if we leave an essence of us behind when we leave a room, surely leave something of us behind when we leave this life. Right. Which again, that's like the only quote we've ever had from Qyburn about related to this so far, at least. But it definitely gets you thinking in like he's definitely, and he got kicked out of Citadel for doing like
dark magic.
I think surgeries. Maybe not surgeries with the intent to heal, but surgeries with the intent to learn. Where he was like, I think they call them vivisections, where you're literally just cutting open people to learn. Quick. Yeah, but he's like, you have to cut open. And at least in the show, I think he says like, if you can learn so much from cutting open a dead body, surely you can learn more from cutting open a live body.
Yeah.
But I think he says he was doing this to like prisoners and stuff, but still very questionable. Like you can't be cutting open living people just to see how it works. Next one I had. Sansa was dreaming of Winterfell. So at the beginning of this chapter, Tyrion's like, oh, she was whispered something. She must be having a nightmare.
You're spoiling next week's chapter.
For you, it's okay. You're supposed to have. This is a spoiler section. It's the first paragraph of her next chapter. She was dreaming of Lady and all her brothers running through the gods. She was having a good dream. And what Tyrion, I think, remembers here is that she whispered a name. And he's like, oh, I don't even want to know what it's about. It's probably a bad dream. And she's having good dreams here. So I think it's just kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing, Tyrion calls Shae Sweetling.
I didn't pick up on that.
With the whole sweet.
She's dirt.
I don't think he actually calls it to her, or he thinks it to himself.
Interesting. Yeah, she's dirty. We know that. Not dirty. She's just a liar.
Yeah, when she says, my giant of Lannister, I love you so. And I love you as well, Sweetling. A whore she might well be, but she deserved better than what he had to give her.
Yeah. The only other thing that we could go down a rabbit hole, and I don't really care for right now, would be just Varys. Like, what's his real deal? Like, does he feed... Like, I'll just say this real quick, and we can maybe talk about it or not. I feel like using Tyrion... Like, him knowing about Shae is the biggest chip he has against Varys. I'm sorry. Using the chip of Shae is the biggest one he has against Tyrion. Right?
Agreed.
So to just openly say that to Cersei, just giving away that information, now what does he really have against Tyrion too?
Varys himself gains nothing.
Right. Except trust with Cersei. And if she trusts, maybe she will use you a little bit more, or like whatever. Like sure. My thing is like he should just be keeping all these really, really big secrets, and like if Cersei. Like, he wouldn't have to tell her the whole truth. Maybe he could give her, like, half the truth. Like, oh, that's not Shae the camp follower. That's just Shae the bedmaid that now he's sleeping with. Like, kind of, like, half a lie, half a truth. Like,
I mean, 100%. And this is one of the things I think people don't respect Varys enough for most. And I think the best example we talked about before, when Varys wants to get Shae as Lolly's handmaid. Do you remember what he tells Tyrion? Tyrion's like, I want to try and find a way to get Shae into the castle. And Varys is like, you know what? I think we could find a way in by getting her to replace one of Lolly's handmaids because the current handmaid
I don't remember.
Has been stealing jewels.
Okay.
Right? So Varys knew this, that she's been stealing jewels. And he didn't tell Cersei. He didn't tell Lolly's. He just sat on it. right?
And he was like, "Oh, now I'll rat this girl out." Yeah,
He's not a snitch. He knows the value of information, and he will just hold it and be like, you know what? That's a
Right.
good thing to know. If I ever need to get her kicked out or I need someone to come in, you know what I mean? So I think that's exactly what this is.
That's why I think it's a lie that he'd be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna tell Cersei if she asks me." Like, no, you're not. Like, you're not gonna just do that. You're gonna tell it to Cersei when it fits you best, not just because she asked this one time.
Well,
If it's Varys, I'm gonna kill you if you don't tell me who this girl is right now. He'd be like, "Okay, fine."
every question from Cersei could be that, right? You don't know. So I feel like the thing is, if Cersei ever says to Varys, who is this person? And Varys knows, that's her putting him in check, okay? And maybe
Sure.
Varys has a really good excuse he can pull out of his ass. And that's what he tells Tyrion here. He's like, hey, I made up an excuse for Shay, but it was only good enough to fool Ollie's. Right, like, and that's it. We've gone with that now. Like, that's our backstory.
It wasn't the lie that's meant for Cersei. I get it.
Like, exactly. Like, I don't have the bishop on h4 waiting for the come in and I can block this. Right, like if Cersei puts me in check, we're not playing against like how does the chess ranking goes? We're not playing against the fucking low levels anymore. We're playing against a grandmaster. If Cersei puts me in check, that's it. That's checkmate. I have one move, and that's tell her the truth.
But then again, couldn't she just be like, "Well, fuck, you've been hiding this from me this whole time. Like, I'm just gonna kill you anyway after you give me this info."
I think what you're saying is that, and I think this is true. Varys is still like a mid-level chess player. I think he's a pretty good chess player, but he's playing against a grandmaster. I think with Cersei and Tywin. And again, not that they're better at scheming, just that they have some cards that he doesn't have. Whereas what you're suggesting is, would Varys ever just tell Cersei for no reason? I think that's kind of like Varys like having like, you know what I mean, like needing to get out of jail free card. He might not be in check, but he really knows that this would make me, you know what I mean? Like, this would really help my plan.
Right.
Yeah. That was all I had. We'll see you guys on the next one for Sansa 4.
All right. Bye.
It's a good one. It's actually a good one. Short one, but good one. See you guys then. Bye-bye.